Jamie, and I'm Recoded's program manager in Turkey. For those of you that don't know, Recoded is a nonprofit tech organization preparing talented youth in conflict-affected areas to enter the digital economy as software developers and tech engineers. Today, we are lucky to have Carmen with us. She's a business intelligence analyst at the Gas, Renewables, and Power division of Total in the Netherlands. But before we get started, just a quick round of ground rules for this session. Carmen will use the first 30 minutes to explain how we can transform ideas into solutions with Agile methodologies. And the last 30 minutes will be an open Q&A where Carmen will do her best to answer all of your questions. Please use the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen to leave comments or ask any questions. And you can do that now or at any time during the session. Our team will be selecting some of your questions, which I'll ask to our speaker in the last 30 minutes of the session. Please keep your microphones on mute during the session, but if you feel comfortable, please put your camera on so that we can see you. The session is also going to be recorded. We are able to do this speaker session because of a partnership between our team at Recoded, the GIZ PEP program, the Promotion of Economic Prospects in Turkey, and Impact Hub Istanbul. We're teaming up to provide opportunities for youth across Turkey to enter the digital economy through tech and career prep training. Now, back to today's speaker. Originally, Carmen was a public administration student with a passion for education. Over the past few years, she worked as a lecturer for democracy and rule of law education, studied Arabic, and participated in many political youth projects. At the end of university, her attention shifted towards climate change and the energy transition. Located in the political capital of the Netherlands, The Hague, she is currently working as a business analyst at the Gas, Renewables, and Power division of Total. This is where she got the opportunity to get familiar with all the opportunities and challenges of digital innovation and the way it can speed up the energy transition. Carmen, it's so great to have you here tonight. I will pass the mic over to you, but it would be great if you could take a few minutes to introduce yourself before you get started.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jamie, for the introduction, and welcome to everyone who joined. I'm very happy that so many people are showing up this evening. First of all, I hope everyone, all of you are safe and sound in this Corona situation. And I'm happy to be here with you today. As Jamie mentioned, I'm a business intelligence analyst at Total, and I live in The Hague. And besides that, I live here with two of my great friends, and together we're in quarantine right now. And today I would like to share some of my insights on Agile methodologies and the way it helped our organization to move forward with digital innovation. And I have to say that I'm not a tech savvy since I was little, because as Jamie mentioned, I did lots of different things before. So I'm also very interested in hearing all your opinions, your questions afterwards. I'm hoping that I can answer most of them today, and if not today, we will just write them down and we get back to those, all of it later. But let's start and just jump right in. What will today's story be about? Well, I will take you along in a little journey. We will start actually with you guys. You have probably personal goals. That's why you're in this bootcamp, and you want to add value to your future customers through digital innovation. And that comes with a lot of opportunities, but also challenges. And I hope to share some tooling which you can use to make this process a bit easier. And one of them is Lean Six Sigma, and that's a way of getting to the real problem. What is the problem you actually want to solve, and finding root causes before you move on with your digital solution. And once you know that digital solutions are the way to solve your problem, we're going to look into Agile methodologies, and especially Scrum, to see how you develop your digital solution and transform it from just an idea to eventually something that is implemented and people can actually use. And since the energy sector is one of my passions, I would like to provide an example of how we work with this methodology at Total, and also just give you some inspiration on digital innovation in the energy market, which might lead to inspiration on your end to start working with it and use your talent to develop and contribute to the energy industry. But starting with all of you, well, probably all of you have a big passion about something you're the best at in the world, and something which drives you as an economic engine. So in the middle, you have your passion, and that's probably, for most of you guys, a goal which you can achieve through digital solutions, digital innovation, because that's what you're all very good at. And in the future, this digital solution will be available to customers who can use your end product and maybe pay for it as well. So you will have future customers, or if you work in an organization on a digital end, you also have customers to serve with all your digital knowledge. Well, if we have customers, you also have a customer journey. I will move this a bit, and you can see it as well. You have a customer journey, and that starts with just an awareness of a customer to, maybe he or she knows your product, then considers to buy it or start using it. And then you want to purchase it, so you are going to buy it, but you need to serve that customer, and in the end you want a loyal customer to create this huge customer base that you can serve with your digital solution. Well, all of you will be probably experts on the digital touch points in this customer journey, since you're talented to develop all kinds of solutions to create digital touch points with your customer. But how are you optimally adding value in this customer journey, and then especially for all of you in the digital touch points? And in practice, that's quite difficult, because you have a customer and that customer needs something. Well, you see that in the right low corner. This is what your customer needs. But while you're developing digital innovation, you come across all kind of people who are involved in your process. And it's not always clear to everyone in this process what the customer really wants. So not everyone has the same understanding of the right corner image. The customer explains it in one way, the analyst, designed it in another way, the programmer wrote it in a completely different way, the business consultant showed it as a business consultant always do, like it's the best but very expensive solution. That's also how the customer is built. So it's quite tricky to really understand what the customer needs, where you can add most value, and ensuring that your digital solution actually solves the problem of a customer, rather than just be a sort of solution that is not a solution for the actual problem. And that leads me to Lean Six Sigma. That's the tool we often use to understand what the real issue of the customer is. Often when we're in the business, you have someone asking, not I have a problem, can you help me with it, but rather, I need this kind of solution. And the customer already thinks that he or she knows what the solution is before understanding the real problem. And that's why we use Lean Six Sigma, and especially the DMIC cycle. And in the DMIC cycle, it is a bottom-up approach where you work as a team to first closely define what the problem is. And that's a very in-depth analysis and a lot of discussion in often a multidisciplinary team. Once you've defined the problem, it's time for measurement. We use data to really get insight in, okay, you have a problem, but how often does it occur? If you have a very big problem, but it only occurs once, maybe the solution is not very needed, or the solution is something else than if the problem occurs every day, but the impact is maybe limited. So we start measuring. And after all the data is collected, you go to the analysis part. So we do lots of analysis on different kind of relationships between the different data sets to see what possible solutions can be. And also, if we implement a solution, that the impact is very high. Once we have the analysis done, we go to the improvement phase. And in the improvement phase, you go to the different kind of solutions that you based on your analysis picked to implement in the organization. And what I really like about Lean Six Sigma is that the improvement is something we focus a lot on. Often in digital development, it's like the IT team is working on something, product is finished, go to the business, good luck with it. While it takes more effort to ensure that your business user is really going to use the product the way you designed it. So there's a lot of focus on that. And finally, you want to control whether your digital solution provides the solution the way you intended it to solve it. And that's constantly by measuring again. So you created measures in the beginning, and in the end, you use the same measures to measure whether your problem is going down. So then you know whether your digital solution actually worked out. Well, what are the secrets for this? I think one hand, business implementation. So what we do in Lean Six Sigma is we have this implementation model, and this model asks the question, what do we need to do to change behavior of someone who is not using, for instance, a digital tool? What is needed to change behavior in terms of, does this person have the knowledge and training to start working with your digital solution? On the other hand, do we have a lead by example? Maybe you design a tool, but the management is not even using your solution. So why should other people start using the tool if even the management team is not using it? And also, do we need to make some rules about the use of this digital solution to ensure that everyone knows how and when to use your digital solution? And secondly, I think ownership is very important, because you have a multidisciplinary team and people start working from defining a problem to eventually evaluating and controlling whether your solution is working out or not. And since you are involved in this full cycle, people who experience the problem in the beginning and also create the solution in the end, creates a lot of ownership for a product. So imagine we have, all of us did a DMIC together and we figured out, okay, the solution is digital. So we start developing a digital product. Then we need to figure out how we develop that digital product itself. And for that, we have Agile methodologies. And currently, around 50% of the organizations worldwide is using some form of Agile methodologies. And there are lots of them. And that's quite a high number, of course. But it all started with IT. And it was very successful in IT because it improved flexibility, agility, it improved the financial results, and it also created more open and productive culture. So obviously those are very good incentives for other companies besides IT to also start working with Agile methodologies. Well, what are the core principles of Agile? First one is that individuals are more important and the interactions between individuals are more important than the processes. So it's more important that you and I are going to have a chat about the requirements rather than, okay, we made an agreement where I'm going to write all the requirements down and someone else, next step is that someone else reviews it and then comes back to it. That involves a lot of bureaucracy and we don't want that. We want to have it flexible and quick. Also, secondly, you want to have working software over comprehensive documentation. Well, personally, I'm very happy with it because administration is not one of my strengths. So it's important that the software is working, but we're not going to describe every kind of detail that we worked on, which is nice because that saves a lot of time that you can invest into development of your product itself. Furthermore, and I think the last two are sort of related, you want to have constant customer collaboration. You want to discuss with your customer the progress, how is it going, is it still what you expect or not, rather than sit in the beginning of your project and say, okay, well, the requirements for my product are A, B, C, D, and no matter what happens, the requirements will still be like that. In Agile, we do it the other way around because while you develop your product, you still constantly learn about maybe new ideas, or maybe something didn't work out the way you want it to be. So you want to have that interaction all the time. And therefore, you want to be able to change your plan. Because if you know that something else is maybe working better, you want to do that rather than staying with your old methods. Well, how do we develop that way? What we try to do is we try to create a minimal valuable product for the customer. A customer, like the skateboard on the left top, a skateboard that the customer can immediately start using. Of course, the customer wants a car in the end, but we already give the customer something that they can experience. Like, what is it to work with this kind of tooling? On the other hand, if you use the old waterfall methodology, you start working on, the customer wants a car. So you start like collecting all the different elements of the car, and then you just start working, because the customer said it should be a car. But in the end, you end up with a car which is, in this case, way too small, and you don't have any clue how the customer, if the customer is still happy about that design. So we always prefer the upper row if it comes to the Agile Product Development, and I think this image is a great way to show how Agile is working. We have lots of different Agile methodologies, but in a lot of different cases, or in most of the cases, Scrum is used. And therefore, I think it's useful to have a closer look at the Scrum methodology. Of course, if you want to know more about all the other different methodologies, you can just have a look at those as well. How does it look? Well, in Scrum, you have one product owner. I will start on the left and go to the right. You have one product owner, and this is the person who is the product owner of your digital tool. And this person collects all the requirements for different kind of stakeholders. So you have customers, you have a team where the product owner works in, you have managers, could be external customers or consultants, could be anyone. And this person collects everything in a product backlog. This is a list of all the different requirements for your digital product. And what the good thing is that this product owner also gives priority to this, all these items. So as a team, next step, the team who is working on this digital product, you know where to start. And this product backlog can of course, the priority can differ. The product owner can say, well, maybe if we have this product, maybe something else is more important now, so he can switch. And the team is having a look at this product backlog, and then selects a few of those items, often the top ones, based on the effort that it takes to deliver those kind of items for the digital tool, and create a sprint planning for that. And they have a meeting to see what can we do in these, well, often 1 to 4 weeks. In our organization, we work with 3-week sprints. So the team collects this list, and this is the list they're going to work on. So you could see it as a sort of to-do list for the team for the upcoming few weeks. Then the sprint starts, and for 3 weeks, the sprint team is working on the short list they've created based on the product backlog. You have a sprint master here in place, could also, we call it a scrum master, who is constantly facilitating everyone. So do you need anything? He's planning all the meetings. Very nice to have someone like that who can do that for you. Because the team comes together with a daily meetup every day. So on a daily basis, you sit together with your team. And the way we do it is always, okay, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? And do you need help from anyone? And if you need help, the sprint master can facilitate that. So based on that, you constantly review with the team if everyone's still on track. And if you're not on track, the sprint master can also communicate that to the product owner to manage his or her expectations. Well, at the end, you finished your work, the sprint is over, and the team is going to review. So how many tasks did we have? How many of them did we finish? How many are still in progress? And how many do we still have to do? Because if we still have to do them, we take them maybe to the next sprint. And finally, for each of the sprints, and we are not that strict with it, but you can do that, is to have an evaluation on how the sprint went. So that's not only like how many tasks did we deliver, but also how was the communication in the team? Did we listen to the customer right? How was, I don't know, it could be anything, but that's an evaluation for the sprint team to ensure that you can constantly improve your way of development with your sprint team. And obviously there are tools to improve and work with your, the way you work with the team. What we use is different kind of tools actually. We started in the middle with Trello, which is a very nice tool. And in the end, all of the tools are more or less similar. Jira we use with our development team in the UK. We have Trello, and Microsoft Planner is what we currently use. but in the end, it doesn't really matter because you always have a sort of same sprint planning. So you will have a board which looks more or less like this, and you have different columns with all the different tasks that you've selected with your sprint team that are allocated to some person, and you can move that. So you have the first column is probably what you need to do, what you are doing, so which of the topics are in progress, and then the ones who are done. So you can just move your items constantly, and every day you open this board and you say, okay, today we're going to start. Can we move any items? So you constantly can keep track of what the team is doing and if you still on track to meet the targets for that sprint. Well, you can Google this information about Agile methodologies as well, and then you get lots and lots more information, but I would like to share a bit more Scrum in practice at our organization. And I always would like to do that based on a hobby of mine, which is Formula 1. And I think it's a very suitable example to show how we use Scrum within the organization, what kind of problem we solved and how it went for our organization. So what was the tech problem that needs to be solved? Well, you can sort of say that the industry within energy is a sort of Formula 1 race. You know, Total is one car and Shell is another car, and all the different energy companies are in a different car, and you want to finish first. Of course, you want to be the best. But how are you going to be the best in Formula 1? Well, in Formula 1, the driver has a steering wheel, and that steering wheel tells you everything about the car. Temperature, if the brakes are still okay, stuff like that. And you want to trust on the information that is presented on that steering wheel to know that you can trust your car and you can go full speed. Well, at Total, at least in our division in the Netherlands, we were lacking this kind of steering wheel because we had all kind of information on how the car is performing, but it's scattered throughout the organization. So one department has, or one division has some information about this topic, another division has some information about that topic, which is confusing because as a driver, as a director of our organization, you don't really know if you can trust your steering wheel because some information is missing, some information might be given to you in two different ways by people in the organization. So we were lacking that steering wheel, and a digital solution was needed to create that steering wheel. So we started, and we created a multidisciplinary team for that. We had a Scrum Master who was also a Lean Six Sigma consultant, so that was very nice for us. We had our business intelligence analysts, we had our backend developers to provide support on the technical side for the solution, and we had specialists from the business. So we had everyone in place, all with their own, their own expertise to make this digital solution work. But we learned from Agile that we should not start with like a Ferrari with the steering wheel that had everything in place and, and could predict what the speed would be in a year. No, we wanted to start small. Just start with a digital solution for one department with some basic insights. So we had those, we had this project going for one department and started there. And we figured out that the engine of the car is very important, and the engine for a digital solution is often the back end, the more technical side. And we sort of overlooked it in the beginning because we thought, we have our business, we know what we want, we can start with it. But we noticed very soon that constant communication between our front-end team and our back-end team was very important to understand and know how the engine was designed, and if it was designed in a right way to scale up later to invent the steering wheel for all the different departments. So we were working together with our backend team. And once we had the product in place, we let the business test. And that was a very important stage for us because often what we noticed is that we created a digital product, we are happy about it, and then we give it to the business and the business doesn't really use it. And that's often because then they have comments about it. So yeah, it's not exactly what I was expecting, or there's some bug or mistake in it. So we gave the first version of the product, like the skateboard, to the business and let them work with it. Just play with it. What does it do for you? Is this steering wheel what you actually need? which also helped for business acceptance afterwards, because people saw the products already. And if you have a sign-off from the business, it's also easy to refer to that afterwards if they don't really use it and say, okay, while testing, you said it was fine, so what went wrong? So that was a very useful and good step for us. But in digital solutions, once you have success, everyone wants it. So we started with this one department, and this department got their steering wheel. But all the other tracks, all the other different departments wanted to have us as well to work. And in the beginning, it was challenging because you could say, okay, maybe the development team is starting for our customer service team, and our product owner is going to support maybe another team. So everyone's working on a different Formula One track. But what happens? The car is running nowhere, and no one gets a steering wheel because you need to create joint focus. So what we did was we started with one department and managed the expectations of others and told, you know, we're starting here, but like the World Cup of Formula One, in the end, we get to all the different departments. So don't worry, at some point in time, we come to your department and develop your digital solution. And we could replicate our success in all the different departments, and also ensure that we could learn while doing in every department and improve the product. So that went really well. And what we do right now is that we're measuring the results. So we implemented our digital solution in different departments, and we're now monitoring if people actually use it. And sometimes we find out still that although we developed it in an agile way, we still find that people are not really using the tool we created. And then we go to a manager and say, hey, what happened here? You know, we developed together with you your solution, and still it's not working out. We should have a chat about that. And that's working really, really well to find out if we need to make some slight adjustments to make people use it. And often very overlooked, but very important, share successes with your organization, because you get more support, more ideas, and it's also very good for the team spirit. So that's what we do. But I could not, I want to share some insight on the energy transition and the possibilities there, because this is what we do. But digital solutions in the energy transition are very present, and I think most of them are developed with Agile methodologies as well. So I wanted to give you just 2 examples for inspiration. And the first one is Powerpier, which is a tool. And the problem that was in place was that in the Netherlands, lots of people want to have green electricity, but they want to know where your electricity is coming from, because it's very vague. You know, you just get your electricity, but do I know whether it's really green or maybe it's still from like coal? So what the people at Powerpier did was that they developed an application where you can connect and see where your energy is coming from. So imagine that there's like, I don't know, a sport hall on the other side of the street, and they have solar panels on the roof. I can just connect and say, okay, I want my electricity to be derived from that solar park. While, of course, they have to see if not too many people demand electricity from that site. But it's a really cool way of creating awareness on where your green electricity is coming from. And it really stepped right into the problem, because the Powerpier community is growing. And secondly, there was this issue because lots of customers who are having solar panels on their roofs, or maybe they have a small windmill next to their house, they produce energy, but they cannot really trade it. They're still dependent on an energy supplier. So there are lots of people who are working on blockchain technology to solve the issue of people who produce energy but are not able to sell it. So now they develop, and I'm not a blockchain expert, but it's really, I think it's a really cool tool that you can trade your contracts in the energy markets, and so that everyone actually can become an energy producer themselves and an energy trader that way. So these are 2 very cool examples, and they are starting to get bigger and bigger. And most of those products are probably developed with Agile methodologies as well. So I wanted to close off with those examples. And I'm very curious if you have any questions, comments, could be anything. So please, Jamie, I think I gave the word back to you. And please, for all of you, just share your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Carmen. There are lots of questions that came in, so I have lots of questions to ask you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. So the first one is from Omar, and he asked if you could explain what product backlog is a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Omar, for your question. Well, I think maybe best way to describe it is by example. So for instance, I want to create a new application on my phone. And that application needs to solve the problem that I want to, I don't know, sell my solar energy that I have on my house, and I want to sell that. Then you create with your product owner, creates for all the stakeholders, creates an overview of everything that needs to be done to create that product. So maybe a better example is at our organization, we are working on a model to predict if people are leaving the organization. Well, if we want to predict that, we need lots and lots of different smaller tasks. So we need to know what the value of a customer is, or what the risk is that a customer is leaving, and we need people to discuss this topic, whether there's budget. It could be very different tasks, and all of the tasks that are needed to create your digital solution are put on the backlog. So it's a sort of wish list, you could say, a wish list from the business to the development team, with all the different, and it could be very small tasks actually, for everything that you want to have into your product. So see it as a wish list, yeah.
Great, thank you. So our next question is from Faraz, and it's so agile. Specifically, Scrum are used for software development. Can you use it on other types of projects? And also, can you use Scrum and waterfall mixture? And if so, how?
Yeah, good question. I think you can use it for other things as well. Maybe a good example is that we also try to, for instance, to work on product development, which is not necessarily IT, but if we look in our organization at, okay, we want to maybe have some loyalty program for our customers, or we want LED lighting for our customers, so very non-IT products. We also look and structure projects in a way that, you know, it's a very good way to start with, okay, what's everything we need to do, who is doing what, and what has been done. So you can structure your process like this, but I think if you're not doing your IT part, maybe you don't need to have this product owner for instance. In some cases, if you only have if all your stakeholders are in your team, you don't need to have a product owner, because then someone within the team is just the product owner, and you can just have the priorities put together with just a team of 3 people, for instance. So I think you can use it in other places as well. However, I'm not sure whether the 3 weeks, for instance, or 4 weeks is always feasible. I think for some development, or that might be too short. But you can always adjust, I think, the methodology to the way, and just pick the elements you like, to ensure that you only use what you need. And I think it's a very good question if you can combine the two. That's what we do as well at the moment. So we also have, for this kind of project, we use the Agile Methodologies, and we were very strict on, the priorities are created by a product owner, but we also sometimes have just this maintenance stream where we say, okay, business user, we have this, we use a system for that. If you have a question, log your question gets into the system, we pick it up, and if the product is finished, which is most of the time a bit smaller, then you get it back. So we also use the combination between the two, because it works with joint focus, but you also, at least in our organization, you always have this sort of continuous stream of work, and you cannot really do that with Agile at the same time, or at least we are not able to do that at this moment. So we do the combination between the two as well.
Great, thank you. So our next question is from Mahir, and his question is, so the user has a first impression of the product. So if we present him with a regular product, and then we develop this other new product, what is the way to dazzle the user again as if we were presenting new content for him?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part? I couldn't hear clearly.
What is the way to dazzle the user again as if we were presenting new content? So like when you're going from the skateboard to the car, how do you dazzle them?
Yeah, well, what we do is we often do like demos. So we start with a small product, and then while developing, we as business intelligence analysts often create dashboard kind of applications. So once we do that, in the beginning you take the business along, and it's most of the time it's quite ugly. We just want to check, okay, are these the calculations you need? And oh, you want to sort of have a bar chart. This is your skateboard, and a business user is like, okay, yeah, that's okay, but it's not really nice and fancy. And our business end user always say, I just want one thing, press on the button and get all my answers. That's basically what the business always wants. So we try to build that up. And if you engage them in the beginning of the process, you can wow them every time, because only if you add some colors, then people are already, oh yeah, this looks way more professional right now. So you can build that up. And what we often do in our development of our applications is we create a sort of layers within it. So in the beginning, you only have, for instance, in KPIs, you have sort of your main measurements, so the most important ones. And then you can say, okay, this time we created more analysis for you. So we see that there is a relationship between 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. And then you can take the business along also in your process of getting to know the product, because it starts just with one overview, and then you dig into the details and take your customer with you. Does that, if it doesn't answer the question, please ask it again and specify it. So that's okay.
Yeah, if it's unclear, ask in the chat. So the next one is from Baha, and he asks, how do you decide who takes a task?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, what we often do, the sprint meetings in our organization are really open. So usually it's based on someone's expertise. So if I'm, for instance, within the organization, I'm more focused on the business implementation and the training part. So everyone more or less gets the tasks of your expertise, because it would be weird if I would get the task that is very much technical programming. Well, I could do the task, but it takes me maybe 10 times more time than someone who has expertise on that topic. And also you can just, because we try to estimate how much time it takes to work on a ticket. So everyone has his or her agenda and estimates, okay, how much hours do I have this sprint? So how many hours can I fill up with tickets? And if you then know if this ticket is only 3 hours and you have 20 in total, and you have expertise on the topic, then it's very likely that you take this task because you know it would fit your schedule. So that's the way we usually do it.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question is from Tarkan, and he says, it sounds like this methodology relies on synergy within and between departments, but most startups are really small, a few people at most. How would you apply these methods if you were an owner of a startup? Which parts of the method would definitely be out of the picture?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I never had a startup myself, and I work in a larger organization, but I think it's very relevant to a lot of people of you, because you all have maybe this startup yourself. So maybe that's a very good question to have a bit more discussion and share your thoughts on it and maybe experiences as well. What I would say is that I would just limit the amount of scope of your project at first, because our scope of the project is usually like a huge business transformation. But if you're a startup, I think you should always, what the customer needs, make that as small as possible. Create a scope of your project that is doable for you, especially if you're only 1 or 2 people. But still, if you're only with 2 people, I think most of the different parts of the Scrum methodology are still applicable, because you want to if you create a task and you're just 2 people, you want to have the list of everything you want to do. You also want to know, okay, where do we start? So what's the priority? And although it sounds maybe a bit weird, you know, every day I had to have this stand up while the team is only 2 people, so you talk to each other anyways. But still, it's very nice to hear and use the way of, because my team business intelligence is only 3 people as well. So we do it every day, because then you all constantly catch up with each other and like, okay, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? And do you have any questions for the other person? And if you're by yourself and you just think, what did I do yesterday? What am I going to do today? It's also a way of structuring your day. And if you have any questions, you maybe should go to somebody externally or ask help of some expert. So I think you can apply most of it, and maybe it's even easier because we have to discuss with all these kind of people all the time. And if you're just you can like work through this process a bit more easy, and you don't have, like, you agree most of the time with yourself. So that's very nice, I think, if you're in this process with less people.
That's great. So our next question is from Ray, and she asks, is Agile used only during the development process, or does it continue even after you launch?
Very good. Yeah. Good question. No, I think for us, it's only in the development phase. We have tickets in our product backlog that are related to the implementation phase. But we noticed that in the end of the project, so if your full solution is delivered, that you should have this transition from a project style of managing your solution to business as usual. So within our Agile methodology, what we usually do is on our product backlog, we have stuff like we have to train people, we have to ensure that they can ask questions quickly and answer them quickly. But when the development is completed, so the car is delivered to the customer, we train them, they know how to drive, we give the product to the customer, our Agile sprint planning around the topic stops. And then we say, okay, if you have questions, just go to the mainstream way of answering questions, because then it's not feasible anymore to have these team meetings around the topic, because the amount of items on your product backlog is then, well, at least you hope that it's gone. So by the end of the project, yeah, we stop with Agile. But if something else needs to be developed again, so the car is not good, needs something else, then it's very likely that you start the project with Agile again.
Awesome. Okay, so our next question is from Fadime, and she asked, how do you find the real problems? Because sometimes like the client that you're developing for thinks it's a problem, but it's not really the problem.
Yeah, that's what we often have as well, that we have someone entering our office and say, you know, I just need this. And then we say, well, why do you need it? Yeah, because, you know, it's like, yeah, I just need it. And that's what we often have. And it's very difficult to get to the real problem. But I think key in it is keep asking questions, be very critical, and do it in a structured way. So what we did in our Agile projects, and therefore we use Lean Six Sigma as well, to really have lots of different people with expertises around the topic together, so that you also ensure that if you only have 2 people who view the problem just from one angle, the problem definition will only be that angle. So you need to have people who look at the issue from all different angles and discuss with each other. Just discuss, and you need someone who is sort of objective and is on the outside and just asking questions, you know, challenge everyone. Is that really what you need, or is there something else that you need? And then you have to just write it down. So it's very good if you have a session with that entire group, collect all the different kind of angles, and then just based from a huge discussion, just make it a bit smaller, until everyone within that group agrees that is really the problem. And you have also all kind of methodologies to work towards that, and how you can work in that group. We can share that afterwards as well. That's very nice to see, but it's maybe a bit too long to go into that.
Great. Yeah. Anything you want to share after, we'll share with everyone via email.
Yeah, of course.
All right. We have another question from Auder. Would you please talk about the main limitations of Agile methodologies and how we can address those limitations?
Yeah, very good question again. Well, what I think is, well, if everything goes well and according to the process seems very easy. But what we notice is, for instance, the role of the product owner is very important one. And for each person in this sprint planning, it's very important that this person only has the amount of time needed to work on this agile project. And what we notice is that if you do this as a sort of side project, so you have your main task and this is only a small amount of time, and you're the product owner, it's very complicated, because we had a product owner sometimes and he was like, oh yeah, I have here a list, I have a list here, I have a list here. And that didn't really work out, because our development team, and me including, then it was up to us to prioritize. Well, it was not my problem. I didn't have any clue, you know, what is more important. So I think that's a real challenge, to ensure that everyone involved has the right resources to work on it, so has the time available. Within bigger organizations, you should always have a sponsor or a manager who explicitly say, you can do this, go for it. You know, you have time to work on it, take your time, because sometimes you need to discuss and it takes a bit longer to get to the real issue, but you need to have the time available to work on the project. And if you have the project available, if you have the time available, then ensure that everyone knows very well what the responsibilities are, and ensure that you have a good Scrum Master. So someone who is really chasing everyone, you know, how is it going? Did you finish all your tasks? What help do you need? So someone who ensures that everyone keeps going on track, and get people with the right expertise in. So you want to have a diverse group, because otherwise it's sort of tunnel vision. If everyone has, if all the people are only looking to the issue from one angle, you get really weird solutions in the end that other people who see the problem from another angle don't even understand. So ensure that your group is diverse, get your resources, and yeah, celebrate successes so everyone keeps motivated, because otherwise it's a very boring task resolve project, and that's not fun as well.
Yeah, I second you. It's always good to celebrate the good things that you accomplish.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, our next question is from Mohammed. Excuse me. Did you solve any environmental problems or define some problems that you are now working on? If you have, we would love to hear about it.
Well, I wish I had solved the entire issue already, but unfortunately I don't. What's maybe nice to mention is that a project that I'm currently working on is, we have customers which are like bigger industry companies, or at least companies that they are consuming lots of energy. And one important way to get this step towards your energy transition is getting insights in your consumption and the cost, because as an organization, you want to lower your costs, of course. And what we are doing right now is we're developing a product that on a monthly basis, Total is sending an overview to that customer and say, hey, okay, this is what we expected that you would consume. This is what you actually consumed. And for instance, if it's a big chain of all kinds of supermarkets around the country, then we say, okay, well, we're going to benchmark all your supermarkets and see who are top performers and who are doing a bit less. And then the customer is able to go to that supermarket and say, okay, but what happened here? Because last month your consumption was low and now it's high. So, and we made an agreement, you are going to reduce your energy consumption. So what happened there? So we give them the insights on their consumption and on the costs. And I'm trying to see if we could also, for instance, create a CO2 footprint in there. So we say, okay, your consumption was this many megawatt hour, that equals this amount of CO2 emissions. So they can start creating awareness about the topic. Yeah, so I think that's very specific what I'm doing on it. And Total, as you know, if you Google it, Total has all kind of big ambitions, but I can repeat that. But this is what I'm doing personally to reach that goal.
Great. Okay, so our next question is from Bertach. I've noticed that users don't even know that a solution exists within a system. Even though you showed us the solutions even though you showed the solutions to the users before, what might be the problem there?
Yeah, This, yeah, this is familiar to me as well. That people like they come to you and say, "Okay, Carmen, I have this question," and then you tell them, "Yeah, you asked us last year, and we fixed it for you. You know, we have it here." And they're, "Oh." What we try to do more is, on the one hand, involve our management more. And know that they are aware, and also incentivizing everyone to use tooling that we created. Secondly, involving people that are going to use the tool into the testing phase, because then people they have a sort of feeling of ownership, and I co-created this kind of tooling, so it's part of my job already. So that also helps very much. And what we start doing more and more is we provide lots of extensive training to the people, and not just, I'm sitting and I'm saying, okay, this is a demo about this solution, and I'm going to share with you how we created it and what it can do. No, I always give, like, some people in the organization saying, like, I'm a teacher. I'm giving everyone homework, just work with the tool, try and give us feedback. So they cannot really escape the tool, or it's hardly impossible that they missed it. But it's a very it's a very tough one. I have to say, yeah.
Great. Okay, so our next question is from Tarkan, and he asks, what is the best way of communicating with a customer if a sprint fails and improvement can't be delivered? Is there a specific method, or do you follow your instincts?
I don't know, maybe there is a method, but I never use it. But I think the most important thing is that we always communicate. Our organization is here in my division quite small, so everyone. And I think the key here is ensure that once you know that you're not going to make it, communicate directly. Don't wait. If on the second day, for instance, you have your tooling, you want to work on it, you do your analysis on what needs to be done, and you find out, oh no, this is impossible to fix within 3 weeks. Don't wait till the end of the sprint and then say, oh no, we didn't make it. On day 2, call your customer and say, we put it into the sprint, but I made my analysis and it's impossible, and then you can explain why it happened. So you can do that yourself. That's what we often do, like we communicate, everyone communicates with each other. But I think formally, the way to do it is go to your Scrum Master, and then your Scrum Master is the one who's sort of linking pin to everyone. So that is the person in your daily stand-up. You can say, yesterday I was working on this, it's not going to happen. Scrum Master, can you please tell person X that we have to get it out of the sprint for this week, and also with the product owner, who can then see how it will work on the product backlog. So it will be like the Scrum Master, product owner, and the developers, probably.
Great. I know we're getting towards the end of our time. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So this one is from Mahir. Is this technique effective during the COVID-19 pandemic? Does this work while we're all working remotely?
Yeah, well, I have to say our performance with Agile went crazy during COVID, because in the office everyone is distracted, and then someone is just saying, okay, maybe we should have a meeting today, and now everyone every morning calls in and say, okay, what's the plan for today? What did you do yesterday? So with our team it works really well, and I think for us it was a bit unfair because we had a team in UK already. So we worked a bit of digital already with our team in UK. So for us, it was an easy switch. But right now you see with other departments in the organization as well, that everyone is now working via Teams, and everyone's familiar. Now everyone starts and everyone has their camera and it's unmuted, that you can start right away. So for us, it worked really well. And especially since you have your Scrum boards and stuff like that in the Microsoft Planner, you have everything digital already. So we didn't work with posters and Post-its before. So since you have your planning and everything digital already, it was an easy switch.